Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, World Alternative Media here, and as millions of Venezuelans take to the streets, as riots break out, as hyperinflation hits a breaking point, as bread lines get longer and people starve, as regulations reign and people leave in record numbers, as debt is accumulated and Maduro locks up all government opposition, as gold is swapped for paper and socialism hits its inevitable end, we are reminded once again why the United States has a Second Amendment. Or, for that matter, why people have the intrinsic right outside of the state to defend themselves. Not just against foreign threats, but against domestic threats as well. Well, psychotic socialist dictator Nicolas Maduro is now arming his loyalists, something that is sure to turn into a totalitarian bloodbath for the history books, as well as likely forgotten within a year. People have a very short memory. This as Maduro attempts to purge all opposition. As Zero Hedge reports, and I quote, "After enduring shortages of food and medicine for years, as well as a total collapse of their currency, the people of Venezuela have had enough. Last week it was estimated that 2.5 million people marched against the Maduro regime, which had previously tried to strip away the powers of the opposition-led parliament. It's estimated that as many as 6 million people have taken to the streets to protest throughout the country. In the lead up to the protest, which had been planned for weeks by opposition political parties, President Maduro issued an alarming proclamation that didn't receive nearly enough press. He promised to expand the nation's armed militia and hand out firearms to as many as 400,000 loyalists. The Bolivarian militias, currently at approximately 100,000, were created by the late Hugo Chavez to assist the armed forces in the defense of his revolution from external and domestic attacks. Speaking to thousands of militia members dressed in beige uniforms gathered in front of the presidential palace, Maduro said that vision remains relevant as Venezuela continues to face imperialist aggression. "A gun for every militiaman," he cried. Now let's pause for a second. Yes, the military-industrial complex obsessively takes over countries and overthrows dictators only to put in puppet dictators. Yes, they arm rebels to cause chaos and destabilization. Yes, this is a problem. However, Venezuela does not need the United States intervening. Simply understanding basic economics and market principles have shown that this collapse was inevitable. After hundreds of socialist empires falling, after hundreds of fiat currencies crashing, this is nothing new. Venezuela is falling by their own hand. Central planning, fractional reserve banking, and massive debt accumulation caused these problems, regardless of US intervention. And Chavez and Maduro have supported this central planning all the way. It's in case things like this happen that people must arm themselves. This is why people should defend themselves. The right to bear arms isn't meant for hunting, though it's one of the many reasons to own arms and be self-sufficient. The right to bear arms is meant to protect people from status intrusion and coercion, violence and abuse from government bodies, totalitarian psychos like Maduro. The right to form a militia if you are being shoved into starvation and debt enslavement. Totalitarian governments hate an armed populace. When the public isn't armed, they have no self-defense, and government can get away with whatever they want. With the gun control documented by people like Jeff Berwick and Luke Rudowski in past reports, where they actually went to Venezuela, gun control and the nanny state is rampant, while crime, murder, and kidnapping is at its peak. While people suffer, the government just wants to level up their control complex. While politicians live in palaces, the populace drinks out of gutters. No free markets, no wealth, no freedom. Venezuela was seen as a beautiful socialist utopia just a few years ago. While people like myself warned of its impending doom as other people laughed at me, it goes to show how fast a country can fall into this kind of totalitarianism. From people flocking to the country to people attempting to flee, yet forced to stay in the prison they call Venezuela as government refuses to print their passports. This is one of the many reasons I stand for liberty. This is one of the many reasons I stand for freedom, rather than oppressive government coercion. This is why I stand for you as a voluntary individual rather than a collective. not a pack of sheep being led off a cliff by wolves in sheep's clothing. This is why you must resist too. Thanks for watching, everyone. You can check the links below. Go find me Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we get massively demonetized and censored by YouTube. Also, check our address in the description and the comments, as well as on the screen for you to scan for Bitcoin. And don't forget to check the link for the Red Pill Expo, which takes place in Bozeman, Montana this June. At the Red Pill Expo, you can see people like J. Edward Griffin, Robert Kiyosaki, Ty Bollinger, Mike Adams, Cynthia McKinney, Richard Gage, James Corbett, Lord Monckton, and so many other great names, and we hope to see you there. But until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.